Hey guys, some Gamer Dude here. So a friend of mine requested I do a tier maker video for TCGs after seeing TCGBuzz's video on the same subject. Mine will not be tongue-in-cheek, mine will be completely earnest. I will also note I won't be covering card games I don't know anything about. It's disingenuous to talk about games that I don't know anything. So let's start in chronological order of my experiences with things with Pokemon. I'll be fully honest today, unless I had kids, I would not touch Pokemon as an adult because you look like a creeper. And I don't want to look like a creeper. That said, the game is actually fairly enjoyable until you outgrow it. It is definitely a game you outgrow. It doesn't have enough, um, really anything for the adult mind. There's not enough strategy really there. Uh, it is there, but it's not really enough. Once you've experienced different things, it's more something someone who'd play other games would have rest time with. It's a very strange beast for an adult, but it's great for kids. And while I still strongly believe kids are perfectly fine with instance, they just need to stop being crybabies. Uh, if all the kids the testers are seeing are crybabies, and honestly, I think Mark Rosewater's. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Sometimes he makes some very questionable statements from time to time in terms of what people want and demographics. And we could actually have a whole video on Wizards of the Coast has no idea what they're doing, but because that's actually true. Um, Actually, we might do that video later on. But Pokemon's fine for kids. It's cute. It's innocent. Well, it's not. It's so innocent with the trainer arts these days. Ooh, they're getting ooh. But yeah, it's a good game. It's just you outgrow it. So Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is the original one and the Panini one and GT are the only games that are based on this IP that actually feel like the IP. Saying that, it's kind of shit. The original designer was both an arrogant ass that took no criticisms well, and they were bound by Toei and Funimation's dictatorship in terms of what the game must look like to represent the IP. Things that Bandai doesn't have to follow because Bandai made, well, will just be the Naruto game based on military action, but for Dragon Ball. What? And then was like, we'll be Vanguard cross Force of Will for Dragon Ball. Wait, what? But yeah, Dragon Ball Z, the Panini game, score game, feels the most like Dragon Ball, but the problem is the backwards and forwards combat system, which is the best thing about it, is a flower in a pot of dirt. The rest of the game is poorly balanced, poorly made, poorly thought out. The color pie has a lot of redundancy and there's not enough fleshing out of things. So I'm going to put it in C tier. It represents the IP so well it gets there. So Yu-Gi-Oh's. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is another one where the IP is really good because the original manga is fantastic with lovable characters and fantastic character design. And the game in the manga is not that badly thought out. The actual TCG no longer represents the original game, that's for sure. But it's it's not actually as well designed as the manga, oddly enough. In the manga, fusions have summoning sickness, and rituals are much harder to get out, hence why they don't have it. And there's just so many differences. It's oddly enough, I think the game would look better if it was more like the manga than it is itself. The game itself is a sight to behold, seeing it being played, but I don't think it's fun, to be honest. I think there's fun to be had with the characters and the cards on with those characters on them and some of the interactions, but everything's too combo wombo big boom thing. It's this is me speaking. my enjoyment of Yu-Gi-Oh is very, very limited. I can see why GOAT format is so popular, to be honest. It's a simpler time and it better represents the manga in a lot of ways. It gets to see, because of the manga, these games should really be in D, but this representing the IP so well, and this is IP being so good, bring it up. Duel Masters. Duel Masters is another one. I think it's fantastic for kids. I love the IP. I love the look and feel of the game. It's not very well made. It's got a lot of design problems, but it looks and feels great. It's great for kids. It's got that Japanesey feel that there are problems with it, and we'll make a video about that later. But I enjoy it quite a bit. It is very much kids' Japanese magic, and I actually think Wizards of the Coast actually does develop Duel Masters. It's not outsourced to another group, because I've read that Mark Rosewater has stated that some things in Duel Masters were used as a testing ground to introduce them later into Magic. Uh, I actually think Duel Masters is a bit more interesting as a game than Pokemon. I'm going to be honest. It's not great. It's really not a great game. Uh, the trigger mechanic is too chancy. The it's Power creep is a problem. The game, again, it's another one that no longer looks like itself. And yeah, it just, I think it could have had longer legs in the West if Wizards tried harder and pulled their heads out of their tuchus. But it gets to A for me. I have too many nostalgic feelings towards it. So, yeah, okay, next up, it would be, let's see here. I believe it'd be Naruto. Naruto is strange in that it kind of represents the IP well, but the engine itself is fantastic. There's nothing like it. I'm surprised, considering so many games rip each other off, no one's ripped off Naruto's engine, because it is really interesting. Uh, it's really strange to me that the Transformers card game didn't look more like it. It's really strange that Hasbro hasn't tried to bring out a G.I. Joe game using part of Naruto's engine. I really like a lot of components about it. How you use missions to generate chakra, to use ninjutsu during battle, how you form teams, how all the cards, how they're framed, interacts with gameplay. Yes, it's confusing if you don't have a rule book and it's not explained to you, but as soon as you understand it, it's really ingenious. Unfortunately, it's got crap card design, and yeah, it died because Bandai kind of caused problems because they rotated when they really didn't have to. Uh, you don't. They did something nonsensical, like they rotated all the original Naruto cards in one fell swing, and it, despite a lot of them still being played, and it just pissed people off. Instead of making people buy the new cards, it just made them quit, and the game folded after 28 sets, which is a phenomenal amount of time. That's something like 10 years, I think. But yeah, it's. I kind of want to put it in C, but I actually do think it's a better designed game than Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball Z. And the IP, yeah, I honestly think Dragon Ball might suit it a little bit better. But considering the core values of the franchise being militaristic, I think it's a B tier game. So after that would be Cardfight Vanguard. Cardfight Vanguard is probably the game I've liked the most over the years. It's got problems, it always has. It's always had problems, but saying that, it's probably the one I had the most fun with over the years. I've gotten angry with it, I've hated certain formats, but it's also still oodles of fun, bristling with character, immense amount of characters that are just really lovable with personalities. Uh, Even the cards themselves are bristling with personality. It's honestly, of all things, and I'm really surprised I'm saying this, especially considering my feelings towards the G era and hating it so much. And at the time, I didn't like the Limit Break era. It's actually probably my favorite game of all time. Out of all the games I've played, it it's the one that hits the most marks. Would I say there are better games than it in terms of design? Yes, but they don't have the personality Vanguard does. Vanguard is just bristling with so much done right. Personality, character, flavor, everything. And it's got something for everyone. I think it's also very simple to learn, but has a lot of depth. It's you can well, there's a story that when Vanguard was being started, Kadani and the store owner that he was friends with went around cold canvassing players, asking them what they wanted from a TCG, and they tried to make something with all of their feedback in mind. I would say Vanguard pretty much feels like that. Buddy Fight would probably be next. Um, I didn't like Buddy Fight. I didn't like anything about it really. I didn't like the art design. I didn't like the gameplay very much. I really disliked the anime. I think I had enough of it after a day and was like, yeah, this actually isn't any fun. At least it wasn't to me. It just never clicked. Um, I don't remember enough about it to remember what I disliked about it, but I remember trying it twice. Once when it first came out with Danger World, and once later on with Shinobi World or Ninja World or whatever it was called, when they got a trial deck. Both times I was like, yeah, no, I actually really dislike this game. And yeah, yeah. It's actually one of the few games where actually got rid of all my cards. I have no fond memories of it. Well, actually, I can put Kaijudo in. Kaijudo is Duel Masters, except it's gutted of all personality. The cards look horrible compared to the original Duel Master cards. A couple of the rules have changed. The animation for it is horrendously just garbage. The original Duel Masters anime was dubbed as an abridged series well before a bridge series or a thing, much like the original Samurai Pizza Cuts anime. But I hate the art design for Kajudo. It was horribly mismanaged. Uh, Even though it was based on a game I actually really liked, and they tried to balance it out and whatnot, these idiots put rotation really early in. You'll notice a theme where Wizards of the Coast can't run a chook raffle if it doesn't have magic slapped on it, and even if it's magic itself, they're not very good at running it. Kaijudo takes Duel Masters, as far as I'm concerned, and spits in its face while riding it in its corpse. It's horrible. It can bugger right off. So, Force of Will. This was actually why I had to re-record this video, because I said some very horrible things about, well, the company. And I mean the original company, so that didn't include all the upper stuff. Force of Will, how do I put this? Force of Will had a ton of potential. I think it had a lot of room to grow into itself, and it needed to steady its grounds and understand itself. I understand now why it couldn't. But saying that, I won't say I didn't have fun with it, but I understood its flaws very quickly and jumped ship to Magic within a year. It's it feels unfinished from my perspective. I know that's going to think come out as a weird statement, but ruler color doesn't matter whatsoever in most cases. The stone deck's arithmetic doesn't really feel right. Color fixing is too easy, and when you remove color fixing, things just start ballsing up in terms of making mixed color decks, and well, not completely, but to some degree. There's horrible design problems where they don't pad things out properly to make like they'll introduce an archetype and never really support it properly to make it playable or give people a reason to buy the next set beyond new deck to power creep. Uh, Well, that was the case before, and it's like it's probably going to be the case again. Force of Will had so much potential. It's got so many characters. It's another one with a lot of characters that are really likable and well done character design. I think the color pie could have been changed a bit, uh, spruced up. I think the stone deck needed fixing. I think the rulers needed a reason to be colors. I honestly think there's a lot of design choices I wouldn't have made. There's tons of design choices I think are highly questionable. Finding everything out about the game, I think it was probably going on the right direction with Jeff, and I think Jeff knew where it had to go. But everything's screwed up now. I think it's going to die by the end of 2020 the way things are going. If it doesn't, it's a miracle, and the fandom did keep it on life support. I don't think it's going to grow again. Too many very scary things are known about it, and no one trusts the companies involved. Help again, it had promise, but it was all squandered. I had fun with it, but I think it honestly needed a Western person in charge of it because the Japanese mentality for card games didn't suit it. And I think that was a key problem. It's another one of those games where I think something based on it and learning lessons from it would probably do well. But I'd recommend keeping that design and announcing it next time Wizard screws up Magic. Speaking of Magic, that's next. Uh, Magic I really like as a game. It feels right in a lot of ways. The pacing is phenomenal. The color pie is well designed. Richard Garfield's original game design in a lot of ways is ingenious. However, and this is a big however, Magic also has an issue where you kind of pick it up for a while because, oh, I like that plane, or I like these concepts or designs or whatnot. And then the next one's kind of, you fall back and, yeah, I want to play it for a while. Tell me when something interesting comes up. Wizards is not very good at retaining people. Also, in related matters, despite the fact that they really, really want to push their Planeswalker characters, none of them are particularly, well, memorable or likable. This is just my perspective. I know a lot of people would disagree, but I couldn't give less of an iota of an F about any of the Gatewatch. I don't think any of the Magic the Gathering characters are terribly interesting or likable. None of the anything really sparks joy. It's the gameplay that keeps me around. This is something I think Force of Will does so much better than Magic the Gathering. Force of Will is bristling with character. The characters have personality. They're likable. They're not just kind of people that do things. They just kind of stand there. There's nothing. They don't pop. Is what I'm trying to say. They don't draw my attention, and it's also really against flavor the way Planeswalkers work. I know they really want to be Force of Will to have those characters that draw people in and they play as them and whatnot. I really don't know why they just don't bite the bullet and make an alternate format. Something like Oathbreaker, but more like Force of Will. I really don't. I know it piss people off that Magic had split in two, but I think it's what Wizards wants deep down for Magic to have that marketability. And other than the prestige of the name, it really doesn't. And the game design does have issues in regards to it can be quite boring. And yeah, it doesn't help. It's Magic is all the game design regarding mechanical things. Everything else needs a lot of polish. And I think the art style doesn't help things. A lot of the older Magic back in the old days, had a ton of personality and character. Modern Magic, not so much. It's very, very artificial and computer generated. The older Magic has personality. Go compare, say, the different arts to Shivan Dragon, and you see less soul in it as time goes on. Same with Sarah Angel and all those iconic cards. Counterspell is another one. So many iconic cards just lose their soul as things change. But yeah, Magic's a solid 8 game. It's funny I put it in the same tier as Duel Masters. Uh, so what's next? Dragon Ball Super, I guess. Dragon Ball Super, it doesn't represent the franchise very well. I've already talked a little bit about this, so I won't rub it on too long. It doesn't represent the franchise well, but what it does do well is it plays well. It actually plays really well because it's based on Vanguard, and that helps a lot. It's actually one of the other 80 games I have around here, despite not playing it properly, despite not playing it much. I actually think it hits those sweet spots in a lot of ways. I think it's got enough flavor and in card design because it's Magic Cross Duel Masters, sorry, Magic Cross Vanguard. Force of Will Cross Vanguard. Force of Will done right, I guess. Um, yeah, the IP also helps a lot. Next up is Keyforge. Uh, eh, don't really like how it's the whole every game is draft. Otherwise, you get kind of bored of the decks, or you have to continuously buy decks to get one you like, and then you can never mod it. No, I get the point of why it exists. I just don't like it very much as a concept. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but it's just the concept that doesn't click with me. And Transformers. Now there's a pile of puke. Transformers really doesn't represent the IP very well. Naruto's engine again would better represent it. The distribution is shit. The cards look horrible. The gameplay is brain dead. I've made a review for this game. It's a pile of crap. Um, it's run by Wizards of the Coast too. Big surprise. Um, yeah, I'm not a fan. So there we go. A game I don't even play gets top tier because, well, I do think it is that good. There's nothing here that really surprises me. I don't think there'll be anything here that surprises anyone. But yeah, uh, from what I know, Bakugan. I know a fair bit about that, how to play it. I think there's a bit more garbage cards than really is necessary. I think the gameplay looks like a hoot. It's Magic crossed, well, with a life deck in a lot of ways, and a tactile gameplay component. The characters are bristling with personality. They're Bakugan themselves, and they're neat little toys, and they're not terribly expensive. Packets are a bitch. I'll put that out there. We really need standardized boosters and standardized booster boxes at more affordable prices. But I like it quite a bit. What I've seen of it, I'm going to be testing it this weekend from when I put this up. I think it looks like a lot of fun. There's a lot of things I wouldn't have done with it personally. But yeah, I think I'm going to place it an A from concept. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard very, very good things about the gameplay. When I make my review for it later on, I might put it further up, I might put it further down. We'll see how things go. But for now, it's a solid A tier from everything I've read. I don't know anything about Yu Yu Hakusho, whatever this is, Dragonborn, whatever this is, Lock and Logic or Whitecross. And actually, I know a little bit about Whitecross, but I don't even remember. And White Schwartz looks really complicated from what I've seen in videos. But anyway, that's where things place. I'm actually kind of surprised Duel Masters gets that far up. And honestly, yeah, there's a lot of surprising things here for me. There might not be for my friends or fans, but that's it. You got any Well, it's just my opinion, so try not to get your knickers in a knot if something I said offended you. And that's the video. I hope my friend that requested this is happy with this. As I said, I had to re-record it because of my comments on Force of Will. But this has been Some Gamer Dude, and I'll see you guys next video.